Hey everyone, welcome. Norman Kinsey here at the Real Estate vs. Technology as your host. We have our co-host, Mr. Dan Gandy. Welcome, Dan.
Thanks for having me on again.
Of course. And we have someone special today. He's in the real estate space. He's in the industry, but he's not a realtor. And before we even introduce him, I want to put emphasis on the fact that welcome to Real Estate vs. Technology, where you'll get the inside scoop from top producing real estate professionals all around the country, best practices, techniques, and learn about what technology they're using to drive to ensure their success in this world we call real estate. That he is someone you need to follow. You need to check out what he's doing, because this is something as our listeners and viewers should take in consideration to help grow your own business. So welcome, Conor, to the podcast, and thank you so much for being our special guest today.
Guys, thank you. I really appreciate it, and I'm excited to talk about everything sort of real estate and strategy.
Awesome. Fantastic. So now we get to get into the good stuff. So tell us your history in the real estate industry and how are you intertwined in this industry?
Yeah. So it was in 2009 that I had graduated on a Saturday and started commuting from San Jose up to San Francisco for a small real estate tech startup and that Monday. And so that was kind of where I immediately got into. I'd always had an interest in real estate, and then just being in the Bay Area, technology was kind of right around the timing of where a lot of the focus and the growth was. But short stint there led me to Trulia, and over time, I was there early, working with a lot of the realtors and the early advertisers at the time that were coming onto Trulia, the brokers and the different partnerships, helping scale that team from 5 inside salespeople to over 100 inside salespeople. And then we had then gone public and acquired by Zillow. And so today I'm with Zillow Group and have been with that sort of greater group for now over 10 years. And it's the theme of everything I've been doing and am doing today is working with our biggest real estate teams and agents and professionals across the country, and specifically their strategy and how they scale and operationalize and grow their business. So one thing you touched on that I'll clarify is I do not have my license. I have never shown a home, and I have no clue what goes into a real estate contract. But I'm geeky passionate about the strategies both in sales and marketing when it comes to leveraging the internet in real estate, and quite honestly even outside of the industry too. That all the way from really top of funnel attention and awareness and branding, all the way down to the nitty gritty tactics of text message and lead conversion and scale. So all stuff I'm happy to talk about.
That's awesome. Yeah. And you already answered the next question. So we know where you work, Zillow, and I'm pretty sure everyone pretty much knows what Zillow does. Give us some context on this question, a little bit more about like your background and what do you more specifically do at Zillow?
Yeah, so a huge history of Zillow's model and partnerships, and even really today is thousands, tens of thousands of realtors across the country, premier agents, are investing thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to generate opportunities for people buying and selling in the Bay Area. And in some cases, I mean, I've seen the good and the bad and the ugly, right? So I've seen agents go on there and lose money for one reason or another. I've seen agents go on and scale 10x the ROI and everything in between. And even that is still kind of a formula that everyone is trying to really crack and unleash. And so a part of what we're seeing in the industry and where my focus is today is not just working with these advertisers, but our shift that's happening is moving a little bit more toward the focus on the transaction. And so we're seeing this with portals like Realtor that acquired OpCity, if you're familiar, or Zillow really, where they don't just want to send a lead to they don't just want to take the consumer and send it to an agent who has a credit card and then not really care, what's happening. There's a lot of focus and investment in the customer's experience. And so that's moving all the way down funnel to a focus on what realtors are actually the best, and how do we even go about measuring that, and how do we continue to work with more and more of them in the future. And so that's kind of if that answers your question, where a huge part of my focus is what are the best of the best really doing, and really obsessed with the details of that execution.
Interesting. That's awesome. So what do you see is like the biggest challenge when it comes to technology and real estate?
Yeah, it's a good question. So there's a couple things that come to mind. First one is that there's this, it can be sometimes divisive in that people feel like there needs to be this one or the other. I'd recently posted about how much I think technology is, and I purposely used the word disrupting education. And it's because it's something that, I have 3 kids. It's a topic I'm passionately interested in learning more about. But to me, it's just factual to say that the internet is a huge tool that can enhance education.
Yeah.
I don't mean to say that teachers are irrelevant. That's not at all what I want to say. And so I think sometimes people will take technology as this, with us or against us mindset, as opposed to just trying to constantly see how they can improve whatever it is that they're doing. And so many of us are doing so many different things, especially in the real estate industry, including what you guys are doing versus what realtors are doing versus mortgage lenders are doing. So I think it's less about, I guess to your question, it's about the mindset and how people are looking at using technology and benefiting everyone involved.
I like that. So the biggest challenge is mindset.
Yeah. And it's not easy, right? But truly, 6 months ago, so personal story, I wasn't sharing anything on social media, at all. I shared a couple of photos of family and kids. And I just really believe in the value of taking our communication and scaling it, right? I'm already in a fortunate position to be meeting and working with so many of these top real estate teams across Northern California and the country. And so it's just, I find it valuable to both scale these conversations, both for other people and for myself. And so that's when I just decided to commit to both content and video. And I'm telling you, I was as much of a newbie as anyone possibly could be 6 months ago. I literally had to Google how to edit a video. And so I've just continued down that path, I guess, of a mindset where I'm going to learn how I can use technology as opposed to feel like it's against me.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. And I have one more question to finish up my set. And then I know Dan has some questions. And really quick, our home actually just went on the market today. And to bring it full circle, my sister, thank you so much, is our listing agent. And I want to help her and nurture her with Instagram. And case in point mindset, she was like, on one end, she's like, there's so many, I was watching this thing and I don't know this, I don't know that. I'm just like, relax. Yeah. Plus,
baby steps.
It's kind of giving me baby steps. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you see now on the other side of the coin? What do you see the biggest advancement in technology for real estate is?
I really do believe that it's so 2 things. So I think number one, I think about the end consumer. So especially in real estate, and really even outside, again, in real estate and Amazon, a lot of us are probably customers of Amazon. And so I think it just enhances the end customer's experience. And so number one, that's just good for the very, reason that anyone is even in real estate. The reason we even work on a transaction is for the people that are buying and selling and moving and shopping. And so first thing that comes to mind is it enhances end customer experience, which is just a good long-term and even just inevitable direction, I think, in every industry. But then the second side on the B2B, agents, realtors, where my mind's at is it seems like there's no better time now for winners to win. And so it's been probably years or decades where I'm sure a lot of people have owned or dominated a neighborhood through the sheer fact that they had the momentum of the most for sale signs, in the area. But I think we're definitely starting to see this shift or this turn where, there's so much attention spent on the internet, and really if the people that are building the most attention and the trust and are evolving with platforms like Zillow and the Amazons of the world, then I think those are the ones that this is all, to your question, just great opportunity.
So true. So true. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think the biggest thing I see before that is that, like you said, the client experience is getting more advanced. There's a lot more tools. There's a lot more data available, so that you can make a little bit more informed decision, as well as on the transactional side, right? Agents now have this plethora of tools that they can rely on to make their business more efficient and be able to work more remotely, and not just be so tied to paperwork and going back to the office every 4 hours to get something done. So I think that's been a big shift, and I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years.
Completely. I mean, like, just real quick, agreeing with that. Like, I mean, man, like, it's. I think you guys had Ricky on the show, right? So, like, I was just watching one of his videos, and he was just saying, like, he had to. I think he was describing. It took him about 15 hours just to find like 100 phone numbers and write them down so he could call them the next day. And then, and like we can pretty much today with technology, like, lay in your bed in your sweatpants and like reach 100x the people with really a lot more probably, efficiency and just, overall effectiveness. So like, yeah, it's really making things better for the people that I think, want it to be.
Yeah, totally. And then I think we kind of touched on this, but one of the best questions that I like to ask is, in terms of disruption in the real estate business, who or what type of technology do you see disrupting the industry currently in this present day?
Yeah, so if you guys don't follow Mike I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, Del Prete, but really thoughtful guy around real estate and technology, and so he talks a lot about iBuyers. And so the reason that one is interesting to me, and so if you guys are familiar with that, right, it's Zillow Offers, it's Open Door, OfferPad. Knock just got another round of funding. They announced like yesterday, 2 days ago. I mean, in the middle of a pandemic, right, they just got more millions of dollars. And so I think there's something interesting happening there. How much is that viable? What is that actually leading to? I don't know. But the way that, I think a big misconception on that is people think of it, they mistakenly look at it as a fix and flip for profit play. And that's just, in my opinion, that's completely not the direction that these platforms are trying to go. It's, in fact, they're publicly losing money per transaction. This isn't this, it's similar threat, but it's still different. In, people compare the yellow signs, "We buy ugly houses," which I think in a way was kind of always a use for attraction. But the talking about technology, there's so much capital behind some of these companies, and there's so much trying to Uberize the transaction that we just talked about, that you've now got, to what I was saying earlier, you've got portals like Zillow and Realtor and so on that are trying to go down funnel, right? They're not just selling you impressions. They're now getting leads and looking at for a future referral model. And so you've got that happening, and then you've got these iBuyers that just went straight to the transaction. So they're just buying your home, and then they're figuring out the logistics, kind of as they go as a startup. And so I think you're seeing a huge focus on the transaction right now, as far as disruptor or tech company, or what's most, I guess, on my mind in terms of watching that. But I think that we're still, as fast as these things go, I think we're still quite a ways out. And one last thought I'll have on that is that I'd heard our previous CEO say that he really believes in 10 years from now, and this was a few years ago, but that half of the transactions in real estate out there will be happening on some type of platform like a Zillow, Amazon, right? Where it does get ultra convenient, very, click to move, very, Amazon-like feeling. But then the other half, in a 6 or a 7-figure transaction is going to be based on repeat referral, trust, equity that people have with, the reason you chose this agent is because of the feeling that you have in working with them on this once in a lifetime kind of a move that you're doing. And so even if that ends up costing you slightly on the economics, I think there will still be a large amount of call it advisors and agents that will have a very large addressable market of commissions.
It's a good point to bring up, because I think it's a relationship business, right? And then if you're going to apply that relationship to social media sphere, right, or technology or your online presence, how do you best convey that in order to magnetize people to you? So, it's not just about motivated buyers and sellers. It's people who you want to nurture or you want to grow a relationship with in your neighborhood or local area. And I think that's what iBuyer type of platforms don't offer, is that experience and that ability to answer the questions and become friends. Everyone has an agent or two in their phone.
Yeah.
So
I mean, this pandemic, in so many ways, we were just saying, I think right before we were recording, that it's forcing us all to learn in ways we weren't necessarily learning before. And like, the pandemic literally like had these iBuyers hit pause. They across the board hit pause and are trying to relearn how to be relevant in a time that is even as tough as it is now. So what I'm getting at is, like, I think the most defensible thing for really any of us is the personal brand, is what we're really talking about when it comes to sphere or repeat and referral and trust, equity, and all that. It's really your personal reputation. And so I think whether it's changing technology or an international pandemic, I just think it's the best strategy for a real estate agent today to invest in their their brand.
And really quick to add to that, because I'm actually going through the selling process, this is like top of mind for me as a seller. Something that I was not happy with is that there wasn't an SOP. Where was the standard operating procedure what iBuyers have, which then has that A through Z checklist, where I felt like I didn't get that as far as the approval process and the pictures and the Matterport. And okay, now it's going to be coming soon and we're going to have 24, 48, 72 hours to market that. Like, it was kind of loosey-goosey, where it's just like, I feel like I'm in the dark. And I built the know, like, and trust factor from the social side, and it's my sister-in-law, but I didn't have the confidence on the other side of the equation, where I feel that there needs to be a hybrid.
And that goes to the future of, this is all good for the end customer, right? Like, same thing. I've even just going through the process of getting a mortgage is very much feels a lot like what you're describing. And so, like, I think eventually that experience will get a lot more, like you said, just transparent and seamless and convenient. And that, and really the agents, though, and that ties to both sides. There are agents that are going to try and evolve and make sure they know how to maximize, these platforms, whether that, but to me, I look at it as kind of two buckets. And if I'm an agent today, it's not mutually exclusive strategies. I think number one, you become the best, sort of partner with these portals, and then you also become the most the highest personal brand, the most known, liked, and trusted person in your city. And I think naturally people will want to work with you, and that to me is the best way to kind of diversify around this technology.
That's right.
And then I just have a few more questions real quick, but one thing I wanted to touch on, that when I always talk to the agents that are just getting licensed, or just in the sequence of their first 1 to 2 years in the business, I always say, use tools like Monday.com. Create the SOP of what that transaction for a buyer or seller is going to be. And as you go through that process, refine it. And when you go to pitch your services to a client, they know that you're going to be able to provide them a tool or a transactional, what I call workflow, that they feel that they're on the same page throughout the whole part of the process. And that goes as well as when you're going to refer out a lender. Make sure your lender, from a mortgage process, has a clean and clear, transparent process. Because like you said, Conor, when I just bought my house like 6 months ago, like, random emails all the time, didn't know where we were, didn't know if we were in underwriting, didn't know if they were doing employment verification, like, was I pre-approved? It was all over the place. So I think that, with technology, is being able to leverage that and make it easy.
We touched on it. It's I think number one, it's a mindset of just like leaning into it and adapting and learning, and like, it's even admitting to people that, like, I had no clue how to do video, even in the beginning, with sort of almost a way that took the pressure off of me. And so, like, I think people just, maybe there's almost too much pressure on using the tech or learning it. But I also, on the other hand, have a lot of empathy. And like I said, kind of at the beginning, I've literally never even shown a single home. So when it comes to the actual process of it, I definitely have thoughts, around the systematizing it and all that kind of stuff. But like, it's something that I truly do not 100% know what it's like. But to that point as well, like, even now when it comes to content, a huge focus of mine is posting content, video, exactly like this, micro clips and photos and written copy every day. And like, my process, I'd say, is like, as unorganized as it could get. I'm very, just kind of like, one day ahead, sometimes one day behind. And so like, I can already see between that balancing, right? Like, we all have our work, pay the bills, and then we've got, family. I think all three of us have kids. And so it's just like, and then, and then you've got the other things you're interested in, which we'll talk, books or whatever, but it's like, it's tough to kind of really sometimes execute across as wide as well as deep.
Totally. Well, I'm going to streamline a couple of these questions. Give us your 60-second what you think is going to go on in the real estate market right now, post-COVID or pre or during COVID right now.
Yep. So I think a lot of people right now are so in terms of the actual real estate market, no clue when that gets healthy. It could be, to me, 18 plus months. When things get, I don't even want to say normal, like when people really, but when transaction volume starts to hit the level that we were sort of at pre. But what I do think is the big change is there's going to be a big shuffling of the cards that we talked about earlier. Some of these people that had been selling 100 plus homes a year purely on the momentum of what was working for them since 1995. I think right now this is just really going to be accelerating this reset or this reshuffle of, a lot of this next generation of agents that are both executing on the platforms as well as executing on social and relationships and truly building attention and trust at scale and communicating at scale. Those people, I think, are just going to be now, they're going to gain 6 steps, on that top producer. So I'm excited for whenever, the market really starts to get back to the levels it was at.
Cool. Favorite tool in real estate right now?
I feel like, I don't know if this counts, but I have to say LinkedIn. So it's really one where, first of all, it's two-way. So anytime you're connecting with someone, they're going to see your content automatically. So versus a follow on Instagram or other one-way platforms. But it's just, there's such a low amount of people putting out mediocre content and such a high amount of people paying attention and logging in on a regular basis that the opportunity to really build depth, build relationships, to me, is there by far the most in our industry. I work with someone who described a lot of these other platforms as the backyard barbecue, where LinkedIn is the networking event where people are qualified to get in, and they, a lot of them are looking to make money, or talk business and strategy. So LinkedIn is my favorite.
Love it.
Totally. And last question is, any 1, 2, or 3 books you would like to let our audience know that you've taken a lot of influence?
Yeah. I took like 2 seconds to think about this right before, because I got a lot of these books over here, but just trying to think both relevant to a lot of the agents that we work with and right around now's time. But so first one is Switch, How to Change things when change is hard. But it talks a lot about what I'm into is the psychology of people going through change, especially when we're talking about adapting technology or any other kind of like massive change that people are going through on a personal level. One of my all-time favorites, Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss has helped me, quite honestly, with my communication and personal relationships, like my wife or other things, more so than business negotiation and tactics, kind of like that. But last one of my favorites is Start With Why. Simon Sinek, yeah. So really into asking myself why a lot, especially when I'm thinking about the long-term direction I'm trying to go, which helps me stay, exactly where I want to be today.
That's awesome. I love how you had the actual physical copy. That's cool. I'm an Audible guy, so I would one day love to have all the physical copies. And just...
fully admitting that I go through big waves. So like it's it's probably been a good 2+ months since I've sat down and gotten into a book, but I like the slowing and forcing sort of the meditation away that happens in that sense. But right now I've been so much more focused in content that I just can't get it. I can't even get away from it.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Well, we're coming to the end of the show. We want to go ahead and let the floor be yours. So is there anything that you want our listeners and viewers to hear from you, take from you? Go ahead. And what do you want to let them know?
Yeah, I think we just hit on, and that's the biggest thing that's on my mind right now is like this right now, this time, both just macro 2020 in the industry, but also just like the pandemic that's occurring. It's just opportunities for people to get ahead. Like everyone's getting hit, everyone's getting, setbacks for different reasons. And so I think if we can be the ones to really sort of navigate forward, then I really do believe then that's part of the group that's going to be ahead moving into that future, and specifically obsessed with doing that through this. So building relationships on Zoom, text message, LinkedIn, all of that, videos to me is something that I think is literally something that don't even listen to what I'm saying. Like I'm doubling down on it. So you can see that on my LinkedIn or Instagram, Facebook, wherever.
I love that. You're leading by example. That's why I wanted to start with that. I love that we're ending with that. That it's just like we had a personal meeting, and I'm like, so Conor, what's the goal here? What are you doing with this? This is very interesting because I do tune into your content. So
yeah, it's truly right now. I'm looking at it as just I'm fortunate to be in a position where I can look at social media and content as a way to just build relationships and learn skills and have fun along the way.
That's so cool. I love the approach. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for being our co-host today.
Definitely.
Really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you guys. Catch you later.
Bring some context. Actually, Dan is the reason why we got connected with Conor. Thank you so much, Conor, as well. And I hope our listeners and viewers took something for today that they can apply to their business today and help them grow and get to that next level of success. And we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you found value and took something you can apply to your business today. Be sure to join our community on Facebook, Real Estate vs. Technology, all spelled out. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We would appreciate it. It's Real Estate Tech. And of course, if you or someone else you know would like to be a part of our show, just go ahead and send us an email. It's reversetechtalk@gmail.com, and we'll see you next week.